Alrighty then.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to 3NN episode something
4.
episode 4. My name is Nick Tesla.
Watch
His name is
Brian McFadden.
and we're gonna have a great show today. So I don't know. Let's get into it. I know you wanted to touch on a couple things.
I know you wanted to touch on something last week you didn't get to.
I didn't get to my top 10 list, but there's also another thing that I wanted to touch on, which is the school shooting. School shooting that just happened the other day. It's only real quick I want to talk about it is two things. One, the kid there's probably almost a guarantee that he was on some sort of prescription medication.
See, I was about to ask that. That was my one question.
Was
he on any SSRIs?
I don't know. I haven't fully looked into it yet. I don't know if that information has become available yet since it just happened a couple days ago. We will know probably within the next week. It's from my early analysis of it, my quick analysis of it. I don't believe he was actually on SSRIs or antidepressants.
To anyone who doesn't know, SSRIs are serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
Oh wow, did not know that. Well,
I forget what the other S. Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but it's something.
I never actually knew exactly what that stood for, but I knew they're bad for your brain, and they're kind of like antidepressants.
Another show that I've seen in the past refers to it as suicide mass murder pills.
Yeah,
because some people can have those extreme reactions.
Yeah. So basically, I don't know. I don't know if the kid was on it or not. From my early analysis, it actually looks like it was a beef that the kid had with another kid who was, I think, maybe dating his ex-girlfriend. It was basically over a girl. The shooting was over a girl, and the guy had a broken heart. And the crazy part about it is, dude's a Native American one. That's the funny part is there's school shootings that happen every year. There's probably about 10 school shootings that happen per year, and you might hear about one or two of them at each school.
The ones they want you to hear about.
The ones they want you to hear about, you'll hear about them. But there's other school shootings that are either
the ones that they staged, you'll hear about. The real ones.
Oh, yeah, honestly, I don't know about that, because the Sandy Hook thing, there's a lot of, I guess you could say fuckery.
I want to do a future show on
Well, we could do a
Sandy
future
Hook.
show on Sandy Hook, but the thing is, there's a lot of fuckery around Sandy Hook, but there's also a lot of what happened at Sandy Hook and the witnesses, the interviews, the eyewitness accounts, all that. There's a lot.
The video wasn't even of that school. The video of the kids walking in and out of the building was taken at another school 3 blocks away.
But that's on the media, you know what I'm saying? That's if you're just assuming. If you assume that the media and either the government or some other organization staged this whole event, yes, then you would say obviously the media is going to be playing into it and playing false footage and stuff like that, which there's plenty of evidence, I guess you could say, out there of the media doing that, but there's no concrete evidence that the media is involved, other than, or that there was any organization actually involved that may have staged that, other than the same exact day, I think 15 miles from the school, literally 15 miles from the school, they were doing a Homeland Security drill on a school shooting situation. So it's kind of like, whereas
kind of like
on
9/11,
they were doing that. The London bombings,
towers were doing the
London train
drill.
bombings. They were doing the same thing. So it's kind of interesting when you see
why is there
like
always a drill?
Well, maybe that's just a calling card to let people who are smart and people who actually pay attention, let them know that it actually was a staged event. For anybody who actually is smart enough to pay attention. And it's not, to let them know that it was a staged event so that they can go and expose that to the world.
Another
it's
false
more
flag.
that there's probably some other reason behind that. It's not something where they put that out there. I think it's more for the world elite that they know that's like the calling card that's placed on certain events that you can tell that it was a staged event and it's not something to look at.
I guarantee you right
real,
now, there is somebody sitting there watching us saying, these guys don't know what they're talking about. That they did the drill because they knew that this was going to happen, but if they were there posted up, then the guys wouldn't go through with it and they wouldn't get caught. But now they knew and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
so
but
that's
the
how
thing
they
is,
I guarantee you somebody is
Sandy
thinking
Hook
that.
situation. There was no way to really say, oh well, they knew that was going to happen or that was because it's not like that kid was planning the whole thing and had like a
Yeah.
huge plan and had a long internet history of looking up how to do this, and it was basically the way that it was portrayed to everybody. At least it was basically the kid lost his mind one day and decided to go on a shooting rampage at the school his mom worked at.
What do
And
you
I know
make
that story changes. The whole thing is crazy.
There's
I don't wanna
teachers that say the kid didn't shoot anybody.
well, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of crazy stuff,
Yeah,
and we'll get into Sandy Hook one
Yeah,
day. I
we
don't
gotta-
really want to. I don't want to dive into that. I
No,
just wanted
that's
to touch on the
definitely a
school shooting
future.
that happened this week, and to talk about the fact why is this one being brought up by mainstream media. There are other school shootings. I remember probably almost a year ago now hearing, and it wasn't on a mainstream news site or on a mainstream. From a mainstream source, it was from another source, but I looked into it and it was true. It did happen that there was a school shooting maybe a year ago, and nobody was killed, and it was stopped by, I believe, a teacher who tackled the kid. The
I think
kid
I
was
heard about
shooting
that one, yeah.
in the school who didn't hit anybody, but a teacher ran up to him and tackled him and stopped the whole situation. Like got the gun out of his hand and stopped the whole situation. But you didn't hear about that on TV because where's the uproar about that? It's a good story of what good citizens and a good public and society would do in a situation like that, instead of say, oh my God, government, please do something. People should not be allowed to have these guns. People should be allowed to have the right to defend themselves in the same way that they would be attacked. You know what I'm saying? If we were to be attacked by either our own military or another invading military,
I'd like to hope it wouldn't
or
be our own
even
military.
rioting citizens and the rioting public, we should have the right, because they're going to have those weapons. We should have the right to those weapons ourselves to be able to defend ourselves adequately. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that we should take away the guns or that we need to call for people to take away the guns. But it's
No,
funny
because
that
criminals
this one,
will always get guns. You're just taking them away from the good
Right.
people.
this one, listen to the story about this kid though. I don't know the whole story of why he went to school and shot people, right? But I do know that he was Native American. He was an American Indian. And his parents gave him that gun for Christmas or his birthday last year. Gave him that gun. He asked for the gun, asked for a gun for Christmas or his birthday, and was given a gun for Christmas or his birthday.
Nice.
So just think about, and I believe he's 13 or 14 years old. So think about that image that they're trying to portray. Or maybe thinking about a reason why they may be putting this out there. One, the kid may not have been on any antidepressants. If he's American Indian, there's a good chance his parents weren't putting him on antidepressants or SSRIs or anything like
they
that.
don't.
So there was actually not a justified reason. There's no justified reason to do what he did, but there's actually a reason behind why he did that instead of, oh, well, he was on antidepressants or whatever, but he needed to be on them because the mainstream news is always going to support the mainstream
The
view
pharmaceutical
on the pharmaceutical industry and prescription medicine and all that, well, if somebody's depressed or has any kind of a mental problem, they need to be on medication for it. They need to be on some prescription medication for it, not figure out what that problem is.
You know what they used to call that back in the day before there was a pharmaceutical industry? Normal.
Yeah.
Everyone has issues.
Back in the day,
we
you
don't
work
need
through
drugs
things.
for everybody.
I think there
That
was
is not
well,
the
wasn't there
answer.
something that you wanted to touch on about what was it, personalities or something? Didn't you say you wanted to touch on something about that?
Yeah, do you ever? It's something. It kind of ties in with, in some way, with the school shooting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saying this Native American guy. Maybe everybody got the story wrong. Because what I was thinking was something I read this morning about how actions always speak louder than words, no matter what the words are. Like you could say, Obama, I'm going to be the most transparent. How many things did he say when he was running for office?
Yep.
Well, what have his actions shown us?
I call that the Obama walk-talk contradiction because he can talk the talk better than most of them. I'll tell you what, he can talk the talk right up there with JFK.
Well,
I will tell you what,
the problem
but he can't
is
walk the walk. He don't never walk the walk.
Well, the problem we're running into is I think everybody nowadays, like 100% of the population, maybe some more so than others, less so than others, get too caught up in the words they're hearing and just don't see the actions before their eyes. Like you can sit
Well, didn't we
there,
talk about
you can
that
sit
on
there
last
and
week's
you can make a 4-hour documentary about, oh yeah, over the past 30 years the U.S. has become a police state, and people sit there and watch that documentary, and then they'll turn on the news and say something. Everything's okay. The government loves you. Oh, see, they don't know what they're talking about. Obama still loves me. It's all good. While Obama's secretly doing whatever it is he's secretly doing behind the scenes, or whomever it may be, not necessarily the president.
There's a quote, and I honestly can't remember who said the quote, but a quote I just heard in the past few days, and it's a really good quote. Basically, and I can't even quote it directly and know exactly what the quote was, but it was basically, it's become too easy to lie. And it's a very true statement, is that so many people in their lives have just become so easily able to lie to people and are constantly throwing out lies. And when you think of somebody like Obama, that's so true, is where they're able to, with a straight face, lie over and over and over and over and over again.
To a point where people keep still believing it.
Exactly, but because they're lying, there's people out there who are so good at lying that when they lie, people eat it right up and believe it 110%, regardless of what your past actions show or anything like that. So, sorry, I zoned out for a second. So basically, you're able to lie that well that you're like, okay, well, you lie 1 or 2 or 3 times, and you're like, well, people are eating this right up. However I'm doing this, I'm doing it right, or I'm doing pretty good because people are believing what I'm saying. Well, what else can I say that people believe? How else can I make?
I'm going to give you free health care.
And then once you realize, especially in Obama's case, you realize that you lie about certain things, and you remember that one guy in Congress, too, or the one guy in the Senate who was like, Obama was talking or giving a speech, and he was like, "You lie!" And everybody stopped and looked back at him like, did he really just yell to Obama, "You lie"? Oh my God!
I forget who it was, but I do remember that.
Man, that was amazing. But in Obama's case, is when you see somebody who's able to lie, or think about from his perspective, I'm able to lie, okay, and of course there's plenty of people out there that are calling me out on these lies. But the people that matter and the people that are speaking into the ear of the public, those people aren't even don't give 2 damns that I'm lying. They're focusing on
ratings.
They're focusing on ratings, but they're focusing on either how my lies are not actually lies, how I'm actually trying to make it work, and I told the truth, but hey, it's not as easy. Exactly, it's all spin. They'll spin it all so your lies are never even really lies. And there's a documentary I saw maybe a month ago, and it's very true when you watch it on TV now. You can't call somebody a liar on TV. You can't. On mainstream news, that is a #1 no taboo. You cannot say that person is a liar, especially if you're a person of power. Now, if you are, let's put it this way, if you're a news anchor or you're somebody that works at the station or you're a commentator, you can say that somebody's a liar. You may not want to use those exact words. You may want to say that that person is being deceitful or something like that, but you can say that that person's a liar. But if you're if you're a person with any kind of authority or power, politician, high business person, anything like that, high business person, that's pretty funny. Hey, time to get some business done.
Did you watch Wolf of Wall Street one time too, Manny?
I've never even seen Wolf of Wall Street.
It's actually a great movie.
I like Leo DiCaprio.
Shameless plug. Watch Wolf of Wall Street if you haven't seen it. It's a great movie.
On TV, on mainstream news, if you're any kind of politician or anybody of any kind of power, you have any kind of power, you cannot. It will destroy and ruin your career almost overnight. You cannot call somebody a liar. That's where I remember seeing it. I believe it was in the documentary called the Clinton Chronicles.
Gee, I wonder if that's why...
No. It's Lee Atwater. The Lee Atwater story. There's a documentary out there about Lee Atwater if you ever get a chance to see it.
I wonder if that has anything to do with why... what's his name? Alex Jones was ceremoniously kicked off MSNBC without warning.
Well, yeah, probably.
Because he was calling everybody liars on the air.
Well, that's the thing. You want to be careful about how much you say. He's more of just a commentator, even though he doesn't work for them, so they can choose. If you're saying liar, 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 pants on fire.
Okay, we don't want your show anymore.
We don't want to, exactly.
Yeah, we're done with you. You're not floating the party line, and now you're crossing.
But when you're in power, what I basically found was, I think it was the documentary about Lee Atwater, is all of the things, and I'm not saying they were all made up, but there was a lot of made up stuff about Bill Clinton when he was coming into office, right? Or when he was running to be president. There's a lot of stuff that was made up about him. The Mena, Arkansas stuff, I think there's a lot of the Mena Air Base. There's a lot more to that, and the murders that surround that. And I don't know if Clinton was directly involved, but Clinton definitely looked the other way.
I know he has a long
at
history
least.
of beating up women.
Well, he does, but he may not. Basically, what I came to find out was
Clinton was
there's
Skull and Bones, right?
no, Clinton's not Skull and
No?
Bones. He's part of another society, though. I'm pretty sure. I
know,
know
Bilderberg.
he's been to Bilderberg. He's been to Bohemian Grove. But what do you call it? Clinton, basically, all these lies were made up about Clinton. Some of them, honestly, probably weren't lies. They were just some really good research and found. But other ones were admitted lies by Bush campaigners to try and discredit Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's trying to take the sitting president, trying to take his spot. I don't think so. It's almost always an 8-year term. You get your 2 terms, you know what I'm saying? So they had to do everything they could. This young upstart Bill Clinton coming up, he can talk the talk and walk the walk. It seems like to everybody, he might have some background stuff that's not so desirable. Well, let's focus on that and let's make up some more stuff. Basically, they created all these lies about Bill Clinton. But the one thing that Clinton did not do, and the reason he became president, is he never came out, and nobody in his staff or his campaign staff ever came out and said he's lying. They're lying. These are lies that are being made up about Bill Clinton. They never said use the actual words, or never called anybody a liar or used the actual words that those were lies. They said that was misinformation, or that they never said that it was lies. So they denied it. Trust me, they denied it all. And a lot of it, rightfully so, because it didn't happen. But some of it did happen, and they still denied that as well. But they never said, you're lying. You're liars. Bush did that. Somebody in Bush's campaign, I can't remember who it was or what the circumstance was, but somebody in Bush's campaign, they made up a lie about Bush, and he said, somebody in Bush's campaign on national television said, no, well, he's a liar. They're lying. That's a lie. From that point forward, everything Bush was working towards, Bush was looking like he was going to be the next president again, all started going downhill. Bill Clinton was looking better. Even with all the controversy surrounding Bill Clinton wasn't out there. You almost look immature, and that's the problem with Alex Jones sometimes and it's not really right. I'm not saying that it's right, but it is definitely the way it is, and especially with the way mainstream news is now, and I hate that it is that way, but you can't. They almost look at it as immature to call somebody a liar. They almost look at it as, well, if you're going to call somebody a liar, you need to find two or three sentences to explain that person's a liar without calling them a liar or insuing that they are a liar. Ensue that their information may be wrong, but don't ensue that person is a liar, because it's almost as if you're looked at as the one who is the immature one, or the one who's not, who might have the issue.
Might have some.
If you're out there calling somebody else a liar, then maybe you got
agenda.
Exactly.
That,
you don't look.
You're trying to get into
on TV.
office for a reason.
But in all reality, if somebody's a liar, you should be able to call them a liar. That's why there's nothing wrong with Alex Jones telling people that they're a liar. Alex Jones is
I think one of the greatest clips I've ever seen was that 5 minutes on the Piers Morgan show.
Oh my God!
He just. That's one of the greatest pieces of television I have ever seen in my life.
Now, I said we weren't really going to do this much, but that I want to see. I'm sorry, that I want to see just maybe a minute of, if we can, because that was 1776. We'll commence again. You're not going to take our guns. It is one of the greatest interviews.
This I care passionately about. So here is my position, loud and clear. I'm in favour of a nationwide ban on military-style semi-automatic assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
Okay, and keep in mind, Piers Morgan is like...
From Britain.
They got kicked out of Britain, but he got kicked out of Britain for lying.
He's trying to convince us to take on the British way, and he's not even.
All right, and it's funny to see the progression of the whole thing. We're not going to watch the whole video. It's a 15-minute video, right?
Yeah.
But to see the progression of how Alex Jones starts out, and I was very interested to see this, because I was like, all right, this is a great time right now. Great opportunity for Alex Jones to come out and be level-headed. Be a calm guest, Not like how he is on his show. He can be however he wants on his show. But on this, he needs to be level-headed and be a calm guest. And if he can make it through the whole show without freaking out.
This was a live CNN broadcast, by the way.
Yeah.
This is CNN. It was live at the time.
I don't know. Yeah, it was live. You're right.
Yeah.
Would close the gun show loopholes and require private dealers to run background. Deport British citizen Piers Morgan for attacking Second Amendment. Take a look. More than 104,000
Piers Morgan thing. I found that kind of funny. All right, here's Alex Jones just being kind of calm and normal.
Mega banks that control the planet and brag that they've taken over in Bloomberg, AP, Reuters, you name it, brag that they're going to get our guns as well. They've taken everybody's guns but the Swiss and the American people. And when they get our guns, they can have their world tyranny. While the government buys 1.6 billion bullets, armored vehicles, tanks, helicopters, Predator drones, armed, now in U.S. skies, being used to arrest people in North Dakota. The Second Amendment isn't there for duck hunting. It's there to protect us from tyrannical government and street thugs. Take the women in India. Your piece earlier on CNN was what?
All right, so he's
very
calm,
rational,
he's
very
rational.
calm.
He's speaking a little quick, but hey, I speak a little quick. I try and be calm and rational myself.
No, the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come, exactly. All right, here we move on to about 6.5 minutes into the whole thing, probably about, 4.5, 5 minutes into his interview.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Understand,
Between
you're not
35
going to pull on America's
Raise
heartstrings.
voice.
They know your script, okay? You're not going to get our guns. By the way, you guys always say, we just want to take the semi-autos, okay, and all this other stuff. When semi-autos aren't even, rifles aren't even used, but in a fraction of the crimes, you can pull those numbers up, okay? No, hold on.
So let me ask you one question. Which weapon was predominantly used in the Aurora movie theater shooting?
M4 AR-15 variants.
So it was a semi-automatic
Yes,
assault rifle.
again,
Okay,
but
next question.
statistically, it's very, very low.
That was. Do you?
That just inspired me. We're going to do a false flag event of the month. So we're going to talk about false flag shooting or whatever event of the month, because the Aurora shooting, there's that.
Yeah.
Almost more than Sandy Hook. There's much
Aurora
more evidence of something else going on. It's the you can't say the lone gunman situation when it comes to Aurora and have nobody raise an eyebrow or two when you hear the story of what happened, and that somebody opened the door to let this dude in. Somebody got a phone call and went over and opened the door to let this dude in, and that person has never been named. That person is it's almost like that person
also,
never existed.
one day I want to look into that DC Navy Yard shooting a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about that, but all right, back to this. This is crazy. Okay,
He was on SSRI.
He's pretty calm here. He's pretty calm here, right?
I wouldn't call that calm
Okay,
for
but
him. Well, yeah, for him that's calm. I guess,
Exactly.
yeah.
If you've ever
But
watched
he's argumentative.
anything
He's argumentative.
But you know what?
He's
You'll
getting
see
there.
people on regular TV. You'll see people like this sometimes, right?
Yes.
Okay, not a big deal. Okay.
It was the single biggest shooting in the history of America in terms of people hit by a shooter. Do you know that?
No, I believe that there were others.
It's
shootings about over 30.
I love how argumentative he is. All right, ready? Now we're going to
get to the explosion. That's the
yeah,
best
we're
part
going to
of
go about 11
Oh,
and a
he's
half
standing
minutes
up
in.
at that.
Is there half your sponsors?
Stick to the subject.
America's number one cause of unnatural death now is suicide.
Alex,
Not
let's try
automobile
again.
accident, not cancer, not...
You
Listen,
accuse me of attacking the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
I want to get people off
There
pills
you
that
go.
the insert says will
Alex,
make you commit suicide and kill people.
Alex,
Yep.
let's get about the Second
I want to blame
Alex,
the real culprit.
Alex.
Suicide pills.
Alex.
Mass murder pills.
Okay,
Yep.
let me ask you one question. Your belief, unless I'm wrong,
First time anybody's ever heard this, by the way.
your belief, unless I'm wrong, is that under the Second Amendment, your real concern is that you will be overrun by a tyrannical regime, either from
Oh, he's
somewhere else.
starting to get antsy.
Highway
It's coming.
checkpoints. Look at Mexico. Total gun ban for the citizens. Highest crime rate in the world. 57,000 people.
All right, just listen. This right here is acceptable. This is okay. Throughout this whole entire thing, I'm watching, and he's poking and jabbing at Piers Morgan. You know what I'm saying? He's being a little bit of what you'll call a dickhead, a little bit to him, but rightfully so, because Piers Morgan is trying
being a
to beat
dickhead,
the
too.
drum of the
Yeah.
mainstream beat. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to walk to the mainstream beat. Piers Morgan is.
You
and
Americans
Alex
shouldn't
Jones,
have guns.
Alex Jones is trying to
You
call him
limey
out on
wankers.
that, and that's I think why he's poking at him. But you know what? He's getting a little bit fired up, but he's not out of control. He's just getting a little fired up because you know what? He's right. These medications. When you talk about school shootings, nobody on the regular news is talking about the SSRIs or antidepressants or any of these prescription pills.
No, because they're all sponsored by
Exactly, but the side effects are that these people might do this, and,
Yes.
and nobody's talking about that. So you know what? To get kind of fired up about that and get a little bit pissed off because that's not being talked about and it's just being ignored, even as he says it right there. It's
That's being
completely
a true
ignored.
red-blooded American.
That's great to be putting that information out there, and people deserve to hear that information. And if you got to get a little fired up to put it out there, I completely agree with getting fired up like that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you can get on that point of TV, or if you can get on a national stage like that and get fired up and tell people something like that, that's fine. Fired up to this extent is a little bit much. And just you can just say, look, he's leaning out his chair. This is what he's doing. He's like, all right, I'm ready, dude. I'm in your face.
I'm waiting for that long spiel.
Here we go. Ready? And we'll turn it up a little bit so you can really get the gist of it.
Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag, Pierce, to bring in martial law in Germany, April 27th, 1933. Governments have staged terror attacks throughout history or
really
allowed
low
terrorists to
sinking
attack
to that
as a
level to the
pretext
rocket's
to
ass.
invade
No,
and enslave
How many
the
guns do you own?
populations. I probably own more than 50 firearms. Many of them have increased in value 2, 3, or even 4 times. I sleep very comfortably outside Austin, Texas, knowing that I can defend my family.
Okay, Alex Jones. This is
Infowars.com.
This is the man who wants to deport me from the country for wanting to get rid of
It's
assault
to
rifles.
point out you're a foreigner, a
Commit mass
rando,
outrages.
here telling us what to do.
Whatever.
Go back to where they took the guns if you don't like it. The communists.
Go back to where you took the guns.
Where's the
That
part?
was the first break. They took a first break. When we get back from the break, yeah, he was freaking out. It doesn't say. I'm sure it doesn't. Where he gets all worked up. Yeah, no, it doesn't. That sucks.
Just go back, click back up here. Go back to the search.
I'm really not trying to look for it much more.
I just love that part.
Hitler
took the
gun
guns.
doesn't
Stalin
kill
took the
people.
guns.
The gun doesn't kill people.
Yes.
Listen,
understand
do
the
you
difference
understand
between
you're not going
35
to pull on
and
America's
11,000?
heartstrings. They know your script, okay? You're not going to get our guns. By the way, you guys always say, we just want to take the semi-autos, okay? Autos that you talk
Let's
about.
take a break. When we come back,
Again, you're not going to get the guns.
When we come back, try and answer my question.
Yeah, all you're going to do is sit there and play little factoid questions. Overall crime's gone up over 20%. More
Yeah, I don't know where it was. It's 1776!
It was Hitler took the guns, Stalin took the guns,
Yeah,
Mao took the guns, Santa Anna took the guns. 1776 will commence again if you try to take our guns.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
He was in his face screaming.
Yeah,
at
he
him.
was all red-faced and everything. All right, yeah, I don't know.
Halfway.
I spent a little too much time. I think we spent a little too
Yeah,
much
well,
time looking at that. But that was
That
pretty
was
interesting.
classic.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting to see that.
You can look that up on YouTube.
Yeah, it's
Just
easy to
search
find.
Alex Jones, Pierce Morgan.
Yeah,
It'll come
pretty
up.
easy. Definitely something interesting to check out. Definitely interesting to see all the information that he was putting out there. In a pretty calm manner for about half of the interview. So it was good to see that. But then the example that I want to pull up, and unfortunately we didn't really get to see it that well, is when he's losing control and
Yeah.
freaking out on TV. He's not doing anything to help his own cause. I've heard this said by a few different people, but it's completely true. It's not something where you can be like, oh, no, you have to get that fired up. You do have to get that fired up. You have to get that fired up when you're talking to your crowd, when you're talking to everybody that knows what you're talking about, or is at least very interested in what you're talking about. When you're talking on a national stage, you have to get fired up, and I like that he got a little bit fired up, but not to the extent of freaking out, because that's when you start to actually, you're making positive by showing people that you're emotional and you care about this. When you start to freak out, it's starting to go negative, because people are like, oh, this guy's insane, or this guy's off his rocker. Like, why do I have to believe anything he's saying? Or
And
why would I believe
unfortunately,
anything
that
he's
is
saying?
the part of the video we could not find.
Yeah, that's
But it
part
is
of the video
really
we can
funny
find.
if
It's
you
pretty
find
crazy.
it.
So, all right. Wasn't there something else you wanted to touch on? Yeah, we were going to get into HARP, but before we get into HARP, I think I'll get into my top 10
Yeah, I
things.
want to hear this.
My top 10 list of things you might not know. Some of the things you might find interesting. Some of the things you might find extremely stupid or boring or who cares. But I'm not here to entertain. I'm not here to impress you. No, I actually kind of am here to entertain and impress you. But sometimes I don't know. I made these up. These are not off the top of my head, but I researched and did all these. This isn't some list I found online and tweaked a little bit and said, hey, this is my top 10 list. I made this myself. So, okay. I don't care.
But you know,
I'm always on top of my stuff, man. All right, ready? So these are the top 10 things you probably didn't know. I'll get right into them instead of beating around the bush. Francisco Lentini, number 1. Francisco Lentini. He was born in 1889 in Sicily, Italy. Had 3 legs. Yes, my man had 3 legs. If you get a chance to look him up.
And he was born
pretty
when?
Interesting. In 1889 in Sicily,
He
Italy.
had 3
His name
legs.
is Francisco Lentini, Lentini. If you ever want to look up his picture on Google or something, pretty cool. I would right now, but I'm not really trying to get into it. I should have had it already pulled up. Number 2, back in the day in Ireland and England, they used to carve jack-o'-lanterns out of turnips and beets. When they immigrated to America, they found pumpkins, hence the jack-o'-lanterns we have today.
Interesting.
A little Halloween.
very interesting.
Quirk in there. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. You want to know the craziest part about that? After I wrote this down last week, right, for last week's show, maybe 2 or 3 days later, I'm drinking a Snapple bottle, and I take the top off, and I always like to look at my fact, and pretty sure I've seen like all the facts. Man, it just got dark in here. I'm pretty sure I've seen like all the facts on them, but this one was a new one to me. And what did it say? Jack-o'-lanterns were originally made of beets. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Or originally made of
odds of
turnips.
that?
I think it said. It said it on the Snapple cap. I'm like, are you serious? Right after I discovered this fact and put it on my list. Isn't that crazy? Number 3. Over its lifetime, a microwave uses more energy running its clock than it does cooking food.
Interesting.
It is pretty interesting. Number 4. Time is faster in space. The rotation of the Earth slows our time. Each day we are moving fractions of a second slower than we would in space. That's pretty crazy. So time moves a fraction of a second slower. So each day, out of each 24-hour day, there's a fraction of a second. It's taking the Earth a fraction of a second longer than our experience is a fraction of a second longer than it would be as if we were in space. So it's kind of
So we
crazy to
live
think of that.
longer on Earth than we would as astronauts.
Yes, and
That's a good way to
if you
look at
think
it.
about what happens to the human body, the human body evolved and has grown into, we're used to gravity. We wouldn't survive out in space. We can't live out in space. When you think, oh well, we could have a space station where people, unless we develop artificial gravity, our body is not created. I'm saying if we develop artificial gravity in our space stations and all of our NASA stuff, everything like that, our space programs, we develop artificial gravity, then we can stay up there almost indefinitely. And as long as we have resources and can eat and all that kind of stuff, we can stay up. And even the moon. The moon has gravity, at least some gravity, so we would be okay if we stayed on the moon. But as far as in space and weightlessness and zero gravity or close to zero gravity, because when you're outside orbiting the Earth, you're not in zero gravity. It's very close to it, but it's not. What do you call it? The blood in your body, it doesn't move right. Your heart shrinks, you know what I'm saying? Your bones actually start to disappear. So the longer you're in space, if you're in space for 3 or 4 years, there's a good chance you'd come back to Earth and never be able to walk again. Or it would take you a good year or two to be able to walk again because your muscles would atrophy. You know, your muscles haven't been used for anything. The calluses on the bottom of your feet disappear. Like a lot of crazy stuff about space. But basically, it's crazy to think that. And Einstein had this theory, and it was just proved a couple years ago by a test they did 20 years ago, or started 20 years ago. They just finished a couple years ago to prove that this is true. That because of gravity and because of the mass of the Earth, time, there's just a slight difference between the time we experience on Earth and the time that's actually going on outside of space. Pretty crazy. All right, number 5. Sorry for hanging on that one for a second.
That's a good one.
Number 5. In 2013, a U.S. military bomber dropped a practice bomb on a bar parking lot in Maryland.
What?
Yes, exactly. It landed only feet from the entrance of the bar door.
Was this a live?
No. It was not a live munition. But the funniest part about it is the patrons inside the bar heard a loud thud. And some didn't even come out. Some didn't even stop drinking to come outside to see what happened. What? Because it didn't hit the building or really damage the building whatsoever. The parking lot almost, I guess because the parking lot was almost like an eggshell. When you think about how asphalt is laid down and then there's really just dirt underneath, it's kind of like an eggshell, the parking lot. So the bomb hit the parking lot And since it wasn't a live munition, it didn't explode or anything, but it hit the parking lot and just cracked all the pavement around it, or cracked the asphalt around it, and that almost absorbed the shock of it. And you could feel it inside the bar, but it didn't do any damage to the bar. Nothing fell down, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like there was a tractor-trailer accident or something outside. That's why some people inside the bar didn't even come outside. Some people did and were like, literally 5-10 feet away is, well, maybe 15 feet away, there's a bomb. Like 5-10 feet away, there's the parking lot's all cracked up, but 15 feet away, there's a bomb sitting in the parking lot. You know, and I don't think the bomb was actually sitting in the parking lot. It fell from such a height that it went down under the parking lot, but it was obvious that a bomb fell, and that's pretty crazy.
That is.
I actually had found another one, but I wasn't able to verify that it was actually true, and I'm still looking into it. That in 1965, a U.S. Navy bomber dropped a practice bomb on a convenience store in Florida, somewhere in Florida, or was it Georgia? No, it was in Florida, in a general store in Florida. But I wasn't able to back that one up. I wasn't able to verify any truth to that. It was actually fun looking up military accidents in country military accidents or military plane accidents or incidents.
That's a good way to put it. Incidents.
Because a lot of them aren't accidents. No planes crashed, but they accidentally lost their payload. It's pretty interesting to think about the nuclear bomb that was dropped into right off the coast of Georgia. Not right off, but like 30 miles off the coast of Georgia. The live nuclear bomb that was accidentally dropped into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Georgia, and has never been found. So if you think about what we do to our ecosystem and how we destroy things and things like that, the fact that we dropped a live nuclear bomb into the ocean.
Nah, there's nothing wrong with that.
It never exploded, but it's now just sitting somewhere in the ocean floating around.
If anyone can't tell very well from the camera footage, or if you're listening to the audio podcast only, Nick's shirt today has a bunch of really cute kittens all over it.
Hell yeah, dude.
It brings a nice positive vibe to the show.
It does, it really does. And I hope the video will be up no matter what. This video...
Hopefully the video can capture
so much easier to get up.
The sweet innocence of all those little cute kittens.
For anybody interested, and after this I'm going to continue my top 10 list because I'm only in number 5. And I think they drop off after this a little bit in quality, but they'll always get better. For anybody that watches our show every week, please keep in mind, probably for the next maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the most, we will be having an audio-only podcast that you can listen to that will have much better audio than the video, and we'll have a video up as well, but the video will have somewhat worse audio quality, only for the fact that I'm having issues combining the two, combining my audio file and my video file to merge up and sync up and become its own file that I can upload onto YouTube. And that should be something I should easily be able to figure out, but for some reason I'm having issues with this computer. So I'll be getting a new computer soon and we'll have no issues with it, but until then we might have to just have a video and an audio video.
Yeah.
No problem. So if you're more interested in having good audio quality and you really want to hear everything nice, crisp, and clear, then audio only might be good for you. But if you're interested in seeing our interactions and the way we look and stuff, then you can check out the video. All right, I'm going to move on with my top 10 list, and then we're going to get into Harp, and then we'll wrap it up a little bit, because there's something I want to touch on Harp as well. I know he's got some interesting stuff on Harp. I gotta stop looking at the camera. Screw you, camera. This isn't a camera show. All right. Number
so you
6.
turn your back to the camera.
Number 6. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb. Get it out your thick skulls.
Wait, can I
people.
venture a guess on this one?
You can, but I'll tell you you're wrong. I can already tell you you're wrong. Because I've never heard this name before in my life.
Never mind. I'm not.
Unless you were going to say Nikola Tesla.
I was.
No, it's not Nikola Tesla. I'm sure Nikola Tesla probably had one hell of a variation on the light bulb, and more than likely had a 1,000-year light bulb in the works before he died, or he was working on. One of the many things he was working on was probably a 1,000-year light bulb, for all we know.
And he was working on many things.
Mm-hmm. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb. Humphrey Davy did. Look up the light bulb conspiracy. It's about planned obsolescence. We will actually do a show on planned obsolescence one day. It's a very interesting topic and very interesting to think about when you think about old appliances, old electronics. Well, electronics, it's a little bit different because technology, electronics-wise, has skyrocketed. So when you look at older stuff, it's not going to be able to accomplish what we have today. But if you look at planned obsolescence, basically older stuff is better. If you can find some stuff from the 40s or the 50s and it's still running and it's still working, it might work for another 50 years. Whereas you find something from the 80s or the 90s and it's still working, you might get another 5-10 years out of it.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about planned obsolescence. So look up the light bulb conspiracy if you can. All right, number 7. This is not that interesting, like I said, but horses can't see directly in front of them or directly behind them, but they can see 350 degrees around. So they
That would be
literally,
really awkward.
isn't it crazy? So their vision is there's a slice right here that they can't see and a slice back here that they can't see, but they can see all of this. That's their field of vision. For us humans, our field of vision is this.
Yeah.
You might think, oh no, what I can see over here? No. That's your peripheral vision. Your field of vision, your direct field of vision that is clear is this. Maybe some people have this, but to everybody, it's pretty much right here. It's not over here. Cats have this. Cats can see this, but a horse can see. So it's got a little sliver in front and a little sliver in back.
That would be awkward.
Pretty crazy to think about how a horse perceives the world and sees the world. It's pretty crazy. You know, almost like in a dome. You know what I'm saying? All right. Number 8. On June 4th, 1993, Nathan Raddick's house was robbed. The thieves only took a grayish-white powder, believing it was probably cocaine, and that they were going to party their asses off that night because it probably looked like maybe 3 or 4 pounds of cocaine. Like, oh my God, we're having a great time. So that's all they stole. You know, they didn't take no TVs, didn't take anything but this grayish-white powder. Well, the powder ended up being the ashes of his dead mothers. The thieves were never found.
Oh.
All right, number 9.
Oh.
Yeah. This I did not do much research into behind, but if we want to look into it, or if somebody out there wants to look into it and tell me what it actually means or how this is actually true, that would be interesting. Okay. The average person grows 138 feet of hair every day collectively. So all across your body, the average person, all across their body, they've grown 138 feet of hair collectively all around their body. Now, my question is, does that mean collectively for one person? Because I can't believe that in one day, right? Yes, in one day, every day, that 138 feet of hair is growing out of your body all around you. You know, you're growing centimeters, maybe an inch here or something. You're never really growing an inch of hair in a day. But you maybe grow like, but that's what I'm saying. If it's not inches, how are you growing 138 feet of hair? Or is that everybody on the planet grows 138 feet collectively every day? Grows 138 feet of hair collectively.
No, I think it would be more than that.
It would be a lot more than that. We got 7
Yeah,
million
I don't know.
people on the planet.
We do gotta look into that.
Yeah, we do. So I don't know. I was very confused about that one, but I wanted to put it on here to see if anybody could clarify that for me. Because I did find that on a video somewhere and was just like, this is not making sense, but curious. It's interesting how that is the truth, or in what way is that the truth. All right, and then number 10, cats can't taste sweet things. They don't have the sweet gene. So there's no point in ever feeding your cat anything sweet, any chocolate, anything that has Sour Patch Kids. Forget it. You're gonna kill your cat if you try and feed them Sour Patch Kids. But don't think, oh well, I just want to see them go. They don't have that. You know, they don't. If they don't have the sweet gene, chances are they don't really have the sour gene either. I think they go together. So that's what I got. We're gonna touch on harp. Brian, if you can you give me a quick rundown of what you know about harp, and maybe start with the origins of harp, and then go ahead and get into the possibilities and stuff like that.
There might be people who don't know what harp is. If you Google harp, they might not even know how they're spelling it.
Well, yes.
HAARP, and there are multiple programs with that acronym. We are talking about the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project in Kona, Alaska.
Not the Home Affordable Refinance Program. A lot of people hear harp and they're like, the Home Affordable Refinance Program, or that thing about my house. Like, what? What does that have to do with space or with Mind control? Really? The home affordable refinance program trying to mind control me? What, into buying another house? I don't
My
get it.
house can control the weather.
Refinancing my house? So yeah, exactly. My house can control the weather? Alright, sorry.
Well, it was established in 1993. It was jointly funded by the Air Force, the Navy, NASA, the University of Alaska, and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, better known as DARPA.
Or, what is it? The Dharma Initiative? I like to think of them as the Dharma Initiative from Lost. I know it probably doesn't mix or doesn't go together, but I always think of that. Go ahead, sorry.
The facility in Alaska is made up of 180 gigantic antennas that are set up in a grid and wired together to create one ultra super mega powerful transmitter.
And people have died there at the location. People have died working on
Yes.
those antennas. They are
Yes.
that high powered.
And the question is, they say it's for studies dealing with the ionosphere. A lot of people say studying the effects of climate change, things of that nature. But they're not very forthcoming with the information. The people that actually run the facility, which up until recently was, I believe, the U.S. Navy or a contractor of the Navy. But in July of 2013, DARPA took over full control from the previous contractor. So that's kind of interesting. But the way the facility works, supposedly what they tell us is these giant antennas bounce these radio signals into the ionosphere, and somehow that's a study on climate change.
Well, it bounces them into the atmosphere and creates a bubble at the top of the atmosphere. And
which studies climate change somehow, some way, according to...
honestly, it would probably benefit us, and it may not be for... I would hope in the next year we could get somebody on to talk about it, but literally a scientist who works with environmental... like an environmental scientist or an environmental, I guess, engineer or whatever, somebody like that who could basically give us an explanation of what HAARP does and how it could be actually a useful or a helpful thing. Because there's a lot of people who think there's nothing useful.
There's a lot of people
it's just
that believe,
you know?
they believe that these waves can somehow, they bounce into the ionosphere, can affect weather. So that's great, right? You can bring rain to an area when there's a drought. If you have flooding, you can bring dry, warm, whatever. But a lot of people believe that that's not what it's being used for. Like former governor, former Navy SEAL Jesse Ventura, who went through the actual proper channels to try to get a tour of the facility, was denied, then showed up with his camera crew for his show, and they were basically forcibly removed by military police.
Yeah, you can actually find that online. It's pretty easy to find. Just look up Conspiracy Theory, Jesse Ventura, and HAARP, HAARP, and it'll come right up. It's
45-minute episode without the commercials.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's definitely worth a watch. But tell me some of the possibilities. Do you have a list of the possibilities of what it's capable
first of all,
of doing?
weather control.
Well, we also have
obviously.
we have to declare. We have to at least make this very clear. Is there is no. One thing you'll hear Brian say very often about a lot of different things, especially about a lot of conspiracies, is I got the documents. Got the documents to prove it. The problem with HAARP,
we do not have documents.
And even
they are so tight-mouthed on it.
The other thing I was telling him about is where there's not a lot of documents. There's a lot of documents that prove the possibility of things, but there's not a lot of documents that prove the actual harm that is being done or the intent to harm. You know what I'm saying? Where there's a lot of documents with a lot of conspiracies that people don't want to admit to themselves or don't want to see, that there's documents that show that there's actual harm intending to be done. Well, with HAARP, there's no documents that are showing that harm is intended to be done. There's documents that show, but there are documents that show possibilities of how it could be used, but there's no documents that say any of those possibilities are actually in use now. But the problem with that is, and the reason there's so much speculation is, there's no documents that show what it's really being used for. There's people that tell you what it's being used for, just for the environment or just for the study of the environment.
Yes.
But there's no actual documentation out there as to what exactly it's being used for and how it is being used.
Well, a
There's
lot
just
of things that
speculation,
people
hence
speculate
leaving it open
is
for
weather control, which they say that's connected to the chemtrails,
Yep.
and it's part of the HARP program to
Yep.
deal with the climate change so we don't get baked by the sun's radiation. Mind control using ultra high or ultra low radio frequency waves, because
Yep.
when it bounces to the ionosphere, they can control where that bounce back is going to go.
Yep.
That's in the official, that they admit they can do that. So if they can do that, maybe they can do something with people's minds. I don't know.
Well, just real quick, I hate to interrupt you. I'm very sorry that I am interrupting you, but literally 30 seconds here, right? People with tinfoil hats, okay? There's many people out there with tinfoil hats. Before HARP came out, you were like, what is wrong with these people? After HARP came out, you're still like, what is wrong with these people? That's the reason they're wearing tinfoil hats, is for a program like HARP and what its stated possibilities could be, or how it could possibly be used. It's stated in documents. That's why you see people with tinfoil hats. But I've seen a lot of people who believe that they're targeted individuals by HARP for either mind control or they're being, like, pain is being shot to them by HARP, by from a remote distance by HARP. And I honestly believe that, and I really feel bad because I know these people believe to themselves that they really are being targeted individuals, but I believe probably a good 90% of those people aren't targeted individuals, either have some sort of a mental issue, or I'm not saying a mental issue like, oh, there's something like there's just something wrong with them, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to put them down in any kind of way, but it's actually nothing to do with HARP. It's more of something going on with them, or what you perceive, you believe. You know, kind of the placebo effect. If you really believe that HARP is attacking you, well, you're going to create these effects. You know, in that Jesse Ventura episode, the HARP episode, he visits some people who think that they're being targeted individuals, and it looks like crazy.
And he also visited someone who
crazy
deals with working in radio and radio equipment, and he demonstrated to Jesse how that could be done.
Yeah. Well, if you also
with simple technology.
Well, you got to think about the radio
something
towers.
like
You got to think about the radio towers that were put up. I think they're called SAM towers, that were put up all around the country and are no longer used.
Yes.
But they're fenced off, and they're military or they're government property, and they are still being used, and there are still things attached to them. You know what I'm saying? So, and cell towers also. You got to think about cell towers.
Another thing they say, disable satellites. You can bounce them. There's people that believe that HARP was responsible for the 2003 destruction of the Space Shuttle Columbia.
Yep.
Possibility.
HARP could have had something to do with 9/11 as well.
Yes, and the Russian military journal believes that HARP could, quote, trigger a cascade of electrons that could potentially flip the Earth's magnetic poles. And if that were to happen, we would see something out of like 2012, Day After Tomorrow, one of these kind of superstorm movies. Makes you wonder why they're making so many of these superstorm movies all of a sudden.
I believed that was a very, very, very likely possibility for December 21st, 2012. And when December 21st, 2012 came and went, my whole outlook on HARP changed a little bit. It definitely changed a little bit, because I really honestly thought that HARP was in development and created for a December 21st, 2012 type event, which I think they wanted to kind of implement for Y2K, but it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready on a large scale for that. And maybe it wasn't ready for 2012. And they're still trying, and hence DARPA's taking it over to set up the Bluebeam aspect of it, because nobody really, if you get a chance, look up Project Bluebeam. Our video has died, so we're back to audio again. I need new batteries, dude. I'm working on used batteries, kind of things. So I don't know. Pretty interesting.
It really is. There's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah,
it's just
possibilities, but see, that's the thing is,
you mentioned you have a boy that got out of the Air Force in 2005.
My buddy who got out of the Air Force right after Hurricane Katrina basically stated to me when he got out of the Air Force, and he was almost a nobody. He was like literally almost a nobody, like in the military. I'm not saying he's a nobody, and he's still my buddy, but basically, when he got out the military, we were hanging out a little bit, and one thing he told me always stuck with me, and it stuck with me for a while, right, is basically the, what do you call it? Yeah, you're distracting the hell out of me over there. Basically, the military, when he got out of the Air Force, he said this to me, and at this time I knew nothing about HAARP. I knew nothing about any kind of real conspiracies, you know what I'm saying? I knew there might be something. I'd seen Fahrenheit 9/11, believe it or not.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. That's where my conspiracy mind was at the time. It wasn't that the Saudis, you know what I'm saying? It was the Saudis, the Saudi Arabia. They're the problem, and that's still something that's never really talked about. Nobody wants to
because we're in bed with the Saudis.
I know, but nobody wants to bring up the Saudis. Even conspiracy theorists don't like bringing up the Saudis, and it's like, okay, the Saudis might chop off your hands if you want to talk about them, but if you really want to talk about the real issue here, then we got to address the Saudis. You know what I'm saying? We got to at least not address the Saudis, but they got to be brought into the picture. But my boy got out of the military, basically told me this, got out of the Air Force and told me this, and this is 2005. I'm 2 years out of high school. I'm not in that mindset, but it's stuck with me for a long time and probably affected why I am the person I am today, right? Basically, he said that Hurricane Katrina, dude, we created Hurricane Katrina.
HAARP.
Like, he didn't say HAARP. He didn't say anything about HAARP. He just said, dude, we have the technology. We use it now to create the weather.
believe HAARP. I personally believe, this is just me, this is not, no documentation, no nothing. I think HAARP was involved in Katrina. I think HAARP was involved in the giant earthquake that crippled Japan and is the reason that we still have nuclear waste leaking into the Pacific.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is another topic nobody wants to talk about.
Well, nobody wants to talk about our destruction to the environment. And that's another thing. Like, and it honestly gets on my nerves is that we're told, and the conspiracy theorist opinion, I guess you could say, or the general opinion or the generalized opinion of conspiracy theorists on global warming is that it's a sham. And you know what? Carbon tax is a sham.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of aspects about global warming that are a complete and total sham as far as...
How does me giving
the
Al
cycles.
Gore my money decrease the carbon output
Exactly.
of the world?
But that is not our main issue, okay? We don't want to talk about... See, that is all a deflection of our human responsibility to taking care of the planet that we live on. We deflect our responsibility and say, okay, well then we'll just think of a way that we can charge people or this or that, or get everybody on the global warming thing. So they'll say all these beach houses, and we all love going to the beach and going to the shore and love our coastlines. Well, they're all going to disappear in 20 or 30 years or this or that. There's going to be massive floods, like the movies you're talking about, the destruction movies, right? And basically, what was I just saying?
Destruction movies and beach houses. And
Okay, yeah. The whole global warming thing is, here's the problem, is the conspiracy theorist mindset is global warming is a total sham, so it makes you go automatically to the thought of, well, it's a complete and total sham. We're not doing anything wrong, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where the global warming thing's trying to tell us that we're doing something wrong, we got to start paying attention and taking care of Mother Earth. We're not doing anything wrong, that's all a sham. Well, it's not all a sham. We got to start taking care. We got the garbage island, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch out in the Pacific Ocean. All right, we are destroying the rainforest, destroying all of our forests. You know what I'm saying? Deforestation is crazy, and then the forests are what keep us alive. Okay, so we're doing all this crazy stuff. We dropped a nuke into the We dropped a nuke into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Georgia. Oil spills, you know what I'm saying? The extinction of animals. There's northern rhinos, there's 6 left in existence, whereas 20 years ago there's like 6,000. There's 6 left in North African rhinos, or North African white horn rhinos or something like that. I just heard on the news the other day. There's 6 left. We're killing off all of the other animals.
People don't learn from history. We made the condor extinct.
Yeah, exactly. Or the dodo bird. Hey, look at that. I would love, and I heard they're going to bring the dodo bird back, and they're going to bring Neanderthals back. So, I don't know. It's just crazy to think of all of that, dude. It's crazy to think of all the damage we do to the earth. We got to really start paying attention to it. And we'll get into that on another show. We have to really make people realize we do have to care about this planet, and really a cop out to say that
Like
you don't
here,
have
I went to
care.
the store for coffee. I'm drinking out of a styrofoam cup. That's
Yeah.
really bad for the freaking planet.
I'm drinking out of a PVC plastic cup, and I shouldn't be drinking out of that.
We all.
But it's
need to be
also
more conscious.
the way we're treating the animals on the planet. It's not just about the environment, and it is about that. It's a lot about that. We have to take care of that. No littering, stuff like that. No dumping.
Yeah, but we can't drive
trash.
animals.
Do you see what we
into-
do to Africa or to certain parts of Africa or Ghana, I believe it is? We dump all of our electronics there. And
We
say
can't wipe
it's
out
to give
animal
them
species.
computers.
We can't wipe out animal species and think the ecosystem's going to continue to stay in balance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a cycle that
Exactly.
leads
Well,
to.
it's not even just it's just our total way of living. It's like okay, all the carbon emissions. Do you realize what's happened to the meat industry in the past 50 to 100 years? It's gone insanely crazy, and cows put off a lot of methane into the atmosphere.
Yup.
So when you're taking the amount of cows you have and 100 timesing it over a 50-year period, you're going to damage the atmosphere a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You can put as many cars as you want on the road, but you're going to damage the atmosphere a lot doing that. All right, so we're going to wrap up the show. This has been a great show. I don't know. We'll see you on next Sunday's show. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to touch on next Sunday's
No,
show.
we
We got a
haven't,
whole bunch of things.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. We have plenty. Trust me.
We have. That's the problem. Is narrowing it down.
Hey, no, there's nothing wrong with that, though. There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll find something to touch on next week, and it'll be a really good time. Whatever's going on in the news, obviously. I know there's something going on. I'd really like to one of these days touch on, if only for 10 or 15 minutes or 5 or 10 minutes, is Israel and Palestine. Because I really get so tired of hearing Christian people, and I'm not anti-Christian or anything like that. I'm anti-religion, more like it. But I get real tired of hearing Christian people talking about how Israel has the right to Palestine's land and yada yada, and it's a God-given land. But when you realize what the people are doing to people over there, taking their land without permission and just taking it and killing people, innocent people, it's really sad. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get into that next week for a couple minutes.
Yeah, we can touch on that.
And other than that, everybody just have a great week.
And don't forget to look up everything we told you to look up, because we told you to look up a lot.
And don't forget, speak before you think. A lot of people tell you to think before you speak. Nah, just speak before you think. You just go.
That could be dangerous.
It
You
could
could
be
get yourself
dangerous.
in a lot of trouble.
You can get yourself
doing
in
that.
a lot of trouble, but you know what? Life could really turn out to be something amazing if you do that. So, I don't know. Have a great week, and we will see everybody next Sunday at 8 p.m. Thank you, and have a great week.